I'm an office worker, but also an experienced camper. One day, I decided to take off Friday afternoon and go camping for the weekend. There was a nice camping spot about 45 minutes away from me. This was in spring, so many plants were already grown in at this point. When I got there, there were only a couple other cars in the parking lot, so I figured I'd have a good pick of spots to camp. There were some good spots that I would have to hike about a mile to get to, but I didn't mind as the scenery around here was beautiful this time of year. I found a good spot not far from a lake. I figured I could go fishing a little the next day, and started setting up my tent. This was a smaller tent made for two people, and even though I wouldn't consider myself particularly tall at 5'8", I would still have to lean down quite a bit inside. But that didn't matter much as I mainly would only be in it to sleep. As I was setting up, a man and a woman came hiking through and said hello. They struck up a casual conversation with me and said they needed to get away for a couple days too and were in a nearby campsite. A little while after, I decided to go for a hike myself before it got too dark, but I took my flashlight just in case. I hiked for about half an hour before turning back. When I did, I noticed the flap to my tent was open. I thought I closed it, I said to myself. I didn't see anything missing, so I figured I just forgot to zip it closed. After eating dinner and enjoying the sunset over the lake, I settled in for the night inside the tent. That's when I heard a scream coming from the woods. A woman's scream. I grabbed my knife and flashlight and investigated nearby as it sounded close, but I couldn't find anything. I thought it could be the couple I met earlier. They said they were camping nearby, so I decided to wait until morning and go over to check on them in the light of day. I hiked around, but didn't see the couple. All the nearby campsites were empty. I guess something happened that made them cut their trip short. All I found were some footprints about 10 feet from my tent of someone who must have been much bigger than me. I know they weren't here when I went to sleep last night, so I got suspicious. I usually take a spare fishing line with me when I go fishing, so I used it to tie the perimeter of my campsite and attach bells to the line. I was leaving tomorrow anyway, so I figured if I could last tonight, I'd be fine. I'm not sure what time it was, but in the middle of the night, I heard the sound of a bell, and when I went out to investigate, I saw the man and woman from when I was setting up, and there were two other people with them now, and all four of them had knives. I panicked and ran away from there down the path. All I had with me was my knife and flashlight. I turned off my flashlight and hopped into a nearby bush to hide and get them off my tail. I heard them stop, and the man from yesterday asked if they saw where I went, and that I couldn't have gotten far. He shouted to keep moving down the path. When I didn't hear any more footsteps, I sprinted the rest of the way to my car and booked it out of there. I didn't bother going back to get my stuff because my life was more valuable than a tent and sleeping bag. I don't know what they were planning, but what I do know is that I will never go camping in that area again.